morning, everyone. This is Heidi Doyle, Director of Children's Ministries at First Lutheran Church in Bemidji, Minnesota. And as you see, I have my uniform on, our Bemidji plaid. Another color I wanted to talk about this morning is the season that we are in is called Pentecost. Macy, we're doing Sunday school now. You need to quit chewing on your bone. Can you do that for me? Macy, no more chewing on your bone. So the season of Pentecost is the color of green. Can you think of anything that is green? When you think of green, what do you think of? Plants. Plants are green. Macy's gonna come join us. She's a sweet girl. She just, Malinko. That doesn't mean you start chewing on the bone. Come here, thanks. Stinko, no. Thank you. Hey, no chewing on the bone. Come here, Macy. So, plants are green, grass is green. And what do plants and grass do? Malinko, no. They grow. So Pentecost is the season where people in the church learn new lessons and they grow. So today, our lesson is from Matthew 20, verses 1 through 16. And how we're going to start this out, Macy, no, is we're going to read out of our story Bible. And that's the one with pictures in it, and I wish I was techie enough to be able to show you the pictures, but I am not, so you'll just have to do with listening to me read it. And the word of the day is generosity, and I'm wondering what generosity means to you. So we'll think about that as we read our stories and learn our lesson. So the story is all in a day's work. Matthew 20, 1 through 16. The early morning sun was shining on the vineyard, full of plump, juicy grapes. The vineyard and ready to be picked. At 9 o'clock, he hired hard-working men to pick the grapes. The workers picked and picked, but still there were more grapes. What color grapes are there? Well, I've seen purple grapes, and I've seen red grapes, and I've seen green grapes. And I think I like green grapes best. You let me know which kind of grapes you like best. At 12 o'clock, the vineyard owner hired 4 workers. They picked and picked, and still there were more grapes. At 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock, the vineyard owner hired even more workers. They picked and picked and picked, and finally, there were no more grapes to be picked. That was a lot of grapes. The sun set. Time to pay all the workers. The vineyard owner paid the workers who started at 5 o'clock first. But those were the ones that came last. morning workers grumbled. What? We worked all day. We picked the most grapes. No fair. Why are the afternoon workers paid the same? The vineyard owner replied, I paid you what I promised you. Can't I give away what is mine any way I want? Jesus wanted to teach people about God's kingdom. Like the vineyard owner who surprised everyone by giving the last the same as the first, Jesus said, God is more generous than anyone can imagine. The last workers that were hired were paid first. This story isn't surprising because Jesus told lots of stories about God's kingdom having unexpected surprises. So who do you think worked the hardest? Those who arrived in the morning, the midday, or the afternoon or evening? Now, I don't know if we could say who worked the hardest. We definitely could say who worked the longest. I wonder why the vineyard owner paid all the workers the same amount, even though some worked more than others. How can someone who is last be first? Or someone who is first be last? That's an interesting thing to think about. And what surprised you about what Jesus thinks is fair? And what we're going to do today is we all have jobs to do. And we all have to figure those things out. And there's lots and lots of different jobs to do. What I want you to do today is I want you to draw a picture of what kind of worker you would like to be when you grow up. Would you want to be a teacher, a doctor, a firefighter? Those are all really important jobs. But other jobs I can think of, and during these pandemic times, we have a lot to think about as to who are most important. Everybody's important. Not just the doctors, they are important. Not just the firefighters, they are important. But people that work at the grocery store, they are important. Farmers who make the food, they are important. Sunday school teachers, they are important. Moms and dads, that's a big job. They are important. Do you think any of those people work harder? Or don't work as hard? I don't think we could tell. Some people work early in the morning, and some people work late at night. But we all have to think about the job that's going to make us happy. And the job that makes me happy is helping people. And Jesus wanted us to help people. And the job that lets us love people. That's the job that I want you to think about, that you want to have when you grow up. Jesus tells us that generosity is really important. It's even more important than being fair. That's something to think about too. So, we read the World Story Bible, and when we have regular class, this book is used in the pre-K class and the first and second grade class. And then the third and fourth graders, we work out of this Bible, and our fifth grade class, actually our curriculum is for fifth and sixth graders, but our sixth graders get to start confirmation, and that's a whole new level of learning. We start in Sunday school and learn about Jesus, and we go on to confirmation and learn more about Jesus and ourselves. And then, once confirmation is over, did you know, once you're confirmed, you are an adult in the church. And you can help make decisions in the church, and you can be a part of the church, and you can be a worker in the church. So, now we're going to move on to the story in the Lectionary Bible. And does anybody remember which story it was? Which book in the Bible are we reading out of today? Matthew, good job. So again, Matthew is in the New or the Old Testament? That's right, it's in the New Testament. And Matthew is a part of 4 books that are referred to as the Gospel. And the Gospel tells us the good news about Jesus. So that's pretty important book. They tell a view of Jesus' story in different ways. And in some of the books, they tell the same story. And in some of the books, they tell a different story. So, when you're living a life and you see it one way, another person is going to see it a different way. So these are all different viewpoints of Jesus and his ministries. So, we want to find Matthew. It's in the back of the book. I don't know what page it is in your Bible, but in the World Lectionary Bible, it is on page 1135. So if you have that Bible, that's where it is. So Matthew 20, verses 1 through 16. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for the usual daily wage, he sent them into the vineyard. When he went out about 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and he said to them, "You also go into the vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. When he went out again about noon and about 3 o'clock, he did the same. And about 5 o'clock, he went out and found others standing around and said to them, "Why are you standing here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one has hired us." So, no one has hired them. So they're willing to do work, but nobody asked them to. And we can think a little bit more about this story to say, Jesus is asking us to do his work. Do you know what his work is? That's right, to early morning, in the afternoon. They're still waiting. They're still waiting to be asked. So we gotta ask. He said to them, "You also go out in the vineyard." When evening came, and the owner of the vineyard said to his manager, "Call the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last, and then going to the first." When those hired about 5 o'clock came, each of them received the usual daily wage. Now when the first came, they thought they would receive more, but each of them also received the same kind of wage. Cyrus, it's okay. Cyrus, it's fine. And when they received it, they grumbled against the landowner, saying, "These last worked only 1 hour, and you made them equal. You made them equal to us, who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." But he replied to one of them, "Friend, Cyrus, friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what belongs to you and go. I chose to give the last, the same as I gave to you. Am I not allowed to do what I chose with what belongs to me? Or are you envious because I am generous? So the last will be first, and the first will be last." And you know what God is very generous with? Macy, do you know what God is very generous with? Love. God is very generous with his love. That's enough woof. Alright, so, you guys ready to answer questions? How about you guys? How does the landowner demonstrate generosity to his workers? He pays them all the same. He was generous to give those workers jobs. Why are some of the workers upset with their payment? Because they think they should have got more if they were there longer? What is this parable saying to you about God's generosity? Generosity isn't always fair. When have you seen that played out in your life? Alright, I can think of a time when my kids were little and one of them got in trouble for something, and we were planning on going to get ice cream. But we all went to go get ice cream. The ones that earned the ice cream trip and the ones that didn't. So I really don't think that was fair, but it was generous, and I do love them very, very much. So I couldn't leave someone behind. So imagine you're the driver of an ice cream truck, surrounded by kids. You see someone walk away when they realize they can't find their money. How would this story end to match Jesus' story? God is generous to everyone. Whenever we show up in the vineyard, and the vineyard is the world, and the grapes are the people, we receive God's full generosity. Fair and equal are not the same, and that's God's math. Okay, so we're going to pray. God, thank you for making us members of your family. You surprise us with your generosity because no matter how or when we get here, you accept us. Thanks. Amen. So how can you show generosity today? I hope you can figure out a good way to be generous. Love you, bye.